And queen takes f3. Oh, what is going on? Oh, this is going to be a fortress. I just don't see any hopes at all. This is very easy. Just rook back and forth.
Taking chess to the next level.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, yeah, nothing else to say. Wow.
Creating the future of the sport. Introducing the Champions Chess Tour. 10 months, 10 tournaments. The world's best players online and on TV. Special bundles with premium membership from Chess24. Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles. With new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
Hey everybody, this is me, Peter Svidler, with the Q&A session today. Apparently the powers that be made a mistake of allowing me to choose the questions that I will be answering, so this will be a complete mad show, but there you go. I have the Twitch and the Chess24 chats open. Not gonna try to look at more than two chat screens. It's a bit too challenging. So if you want to ask me something, use those two. And we can probably start with something I've already seen. People have asked me how's my leg spin. I did answer it in chat, but yeah, I appreciate the question and the suggestion that something positive might be happening with my leg spin is very welcome, but sadly, no progress and no progress really expected. It's a pity, though. I would very much. I mean, the dream of being a hard-hitting lower order leg spinner for England has not. It's still a dream. I still I feel like it's something I would have liked to be in a different life. But there you go. On a more serious note, there are some and Dodgy complimenting the question, which I got to that point in the Chess24 chat, and I got really scared because Flinsbacher asking, "Dear Peter, what question would you like to be asked?" But that was never asked. And what would be your answer? Yeah, that's exactly the type of answer which would just completely destroy this Q&A, because you would, or for the next hour, you would sit there watching me, just go into a complete, mind meld, trying to figure out how to answer that. So I will just nominate this as an early contender for the best question of the day, because that would just destroy me if I tried answering that. But I will, use a cheat code and just say, good question, not going to touch it with a barge pole. What age did you start learning the Grunfeld? Asks Supervin. And what rating do you think what should start learning this opening? I think I switched to the Grunfeld at around, let me try and get this right. By the time I was 14, I was playing it quite actively already. So between 12 and 13, I would say. No, you don't need to apologize. It's a good question. It's just that, like, specifically my mind, Flinnbacher, just doesn't work well with these kinds of freestyle questions. They just completely destroy my ability to function. It is genuinely a good question. I'm just not answering it because I don't know I can't. I mean, I know that I can't. What do you think of the monument found in Utah? Welcome, Midnight Fox, and I will Google after the show is done. I don't really know what monument has been found in Utah. What makes you laugh is very many things make me laugh, Jackie the Alien. I do find laughter reasonably easy to come by, and people who are in various chats with me, have probably by this point regretted being in various chats with me because I send things I find funny to them at all hours of day and night, and judging by reactions, things I find funny are not, you know, necessarily funny at all, but many things from really stupid cat memes to good literature and yeah, many things. Um, how good are the best computers at chess compared to the super GMs? Uh, and then yeah, I was about to say this is a very easy question because obviously like there is no comparison. And then Burns for 20 sort of continues asking knight odds, two pawn odds. Knight odds were tried. I think Komodo played, I think, David Smerdon with piece odds, and the GM won very, very comfortably. So I assume that's way too much. You would think two pawns is way too much as well, but I don't know if this has been tested. One pawn, probably you are in a lot of trouble against a good computer, in particular in shorter time controls. Um, how come you're not Magnus Carlsen? I apologize, Junista. I understand. I'm bringing you deep and bitter disappointments here on this point, but what to do? Exchange is tricky already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what is even better, exchange or let's say an f7 pawn. And if it's like an a7 pawn, I think the machine is just clearly favored. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is sort of where the machine is still clearly favored. And once you get to two pawns, you would assume a GM would be severely favored against a machine with two pawns up. Hikaru lost to Komodo two pawns up. Yeah, then again, like I don't really know where the like the fault lines lay. I didn't really know the results of testing, and I mean, if Hikaru lost, then clearly my evaluation is incorrect because Hikaru is A, very strong, and B, would actually be taking it seriously, and he would maybe even get some preparation in before embarking on this. So yeah, I mean, that kind of completely overturns my opinion, I think. Where do you live? I live in St. Petersburg, have always lived in St. Petersburg. Your favorite Tom Waits album, and why is it Rain Dogs? Because Rain Dogs was maybe the first. That's not true, actually. I got introduced to Tom Waits by being given Frank's Wild Years in 93, 94. I still love Frank's Wild Years, by the way. But it's probably Rain Dogs because it's fabulous. But I also really like the jazz period. For a very, very long time, the album I was actually like, I was using Nighthawks at the Diner as my fall asleep music. And I suspect it would still work wonderfully well even now. I haven't tried doing that in a long, long time, but I suspect it would still work really, really well as something to just gently drift off to sleep with. Okay, I've been paying attention to one chat more than the other, but also it's very lively, so it's difficult to keep track of everything that people are saying. Did you see Queen's Gambit by Robbie Bin? I have seen more than half of it. I'm watching it very, very slowly. I like it, but it's not going to be my favorite TV show of the year. I suspect. I think sort of hardcore chess players aren't really the target audience. It's still very, very enjoyable because it's very well acted and uh, yeah, there's a lot to like about it, but probably not going to be my number one show for this year. For whom did you vote to come back next tournament? Dodgy is at least one of these chats, Kizar Markeshi. Why are you trying to get me in trouble? What inspired you to pick up the Grunfeld? Basically Kasparov. I mean, the very short, simple answer, Chessweave, would be Kasparov. I was absolutely like he was my very early idol. I tried basing my repertoire on his repertoire. So this I actually do remember quite clearly. I was trying to to adopt as much of his game into my game as possible. And Grunfeld seemed like, it's a lot easier to just start picking up his openings rather than, let's say, trying to become a more rounded chess player and just getting better at chess. Which show is your favorite for the year? Hard to say. I am currently finishing Raised by Wolves, which I think started very strongly, but I don't know if it actually qualifies. I'm really enjoying Fargo 4, actually. What I have favorite course? I actually had that bookmarked, PLL Skip, because Bohr told me how to answer that question, and I had it not bookmarked, but I had the tab open for the corn-related questions, and then now it's gone, so I can't find it very quickly. There was something I was talking about, but yeah, he also played. I don't know. King's Indian never agreed with me, Chris FM. I think I kind of knew instinctively I should not be playing the King's Indian. So let me just scroll up a little bit because I think I've seen something in the Chess24 chat. Yeah, that's. I actually missed that, which is kind of I would have gotten stuck on that question by talking in the Chess24 chat. Hi Peter, I'm a big fan of yours, and I don't mean any disrespect with this question. And then the question: when do you expect to withdraw from competitive chess? No idea. I am clearly not as active as I used to be, but I don't have any kind of a timeline in mind. I am, I'm taking it one day at a time, which is, in particular, I think in 2020, most of us are taking it pretty much one day at a time. And, but even before that, I didn't really have any kind of a structured answer to that question. When I feel like it doesn't bring me any joy anymore, I guess is the answer, but I don't know when that will happen. Question from Iniguito. Hi, Peter. The week begins the super finals with the best, I guess the word teacher is some kind of an auto-translate there. The best players in Russia. Do you think Nepo is the main favorite, or Dubov, Yesipenko have a chance? And do you see Artemiev, Dubov, and Yesipenko in the top 10 in the world? I would like to see that. I've gotten a lot closer to Yesipenko in particular because we were both helping Kirill Alexeyenko for the candidates. He is a very, very nice kid, and also I think an extremely promising chess player. So would very much like him to be in the top 10 in the world, but I once again don't have a timeline for that. As for the super final, I guess Jan does start as a favorite, but super finals are a kind of a very special beast. They don't always go according to form, and it's not that easy to judge. I would like to do well in it myself, but I obviously don't count myself as a favorite in the lineup that we'll have this year. Who is your favorite young player currently, excluding Alexeyenko? Asks your own personal. That's a favorite track of mine, by the way, if that's referring what I think it is referring to. I mean, it's just so difficult to judge. I mean, first of all, I'm guessing the answer is just simply Alireza, right? If we don't mean exclusively Russians, and I don't suppose this question is about exclusively Russians. And of course, the Indian brigade could explode, and all of them could become 2750. Tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow. But I mean, if you have to pick one, and you can pick from anywhere in the world, it's definitely Alireza. Do you think there's any potential for innovation in chess? It is a good question, in particular if you could sort of expand on it a little bit. Apples are medicine, another good username. Like, do you mean innovation in the current like chess as we know it in terms of like opening innovation, or do you mean innovation in terms of creating new chess variants? I think the answer is actually yes to both, but I wonder which one of the two is more interesting to you. Who's your favorite Sri Lankan cricketer? Jayawardene? I don't know. I think I'm supposed to say Murali, but I mean, Murali is fabulous, but I've had, let's not let's not touch on that too much. I don't want to get in trouble. Um, Ola Peter says, new robot overlord. Have new strategic ideas emerged from the play of Alpha Zero and Lila Zero? In general, how do you learn from engine play besides deeper exploration of openings? I think like the default answer, and it will sound sort of like a default answer, but I don't think it is. I think it's genuinely something that people have a much better understanding of now because uh, you get it, on your screen constantly now that you analyze with Lila in particular, is just how annoying the idea of marching, let's say the H pawn towards the enemy king is in so many positions. It's not that the idea was it's not that the idea is new, but I think until recently people were still reluctant to try it basically in every single position. And now, like, I've been looking at some Grunfelds for the Chessable course, and it's just amazing how valid this approach is basically absolutely everywhere. Like like some positions where you think, okay, white is kind of undeveloped and black, doesn't even have a king on g8 yet, and there's really seemingly nothing to attack there on the king side. And yet h4 is a perfectly valid move, which actually requires a lot of attention. And if you haven't seen that game, like the game I lost to David Anton in the Skilling Open in the round robin, he played h4 on like move 7 or 6, 7, I guess, in a position where, like, normally you would think, why are you playing h4 here? What the hell is this? And I made a kind of an autopilot reaction to it, and I was pretty much lost by move 10. So I think that would be like the most obvious reply. But yeah, I think in general you do get a lot of new insights into openings. It's difficult for me, at least, to generalize and say that I understood something about chess on a much deeper level because I've studied with Lila. Okay, what else am I missing? Can you give some advice on choosing an opening in Blitz? Asks Supervin. Not really. I'm really not the person to ask because I kind of alternate wildly between just playing my own repertoire or just playing something completely random I've never looked at in my life. And I mean, playing your own repertoire is fine. Playing random things isn't fine, and I have been punished by doing that quite a lot in my life. So I think actual good blitz chess players have at some point put some thought into how to approach this, and have chosen to analyze some sidelines where, at least for a tournament or two, they would gain a lot of advantage simply from being able to play the first 15 moves quickly and confidently and get decent positions, not necessarily better positions, but decent positions, while also gaining a lot of time on the clock and preserving energy. And I've never really done that at all, so I'm not the person to ask. Um, Thanks for the opportunity. I'm a 1,000 rated player. Can you suggest what's the best way to improve? I think cute you will find that practice is really the best way. If you can find decent coaching, this will help. But playing chess against people who are slightly better than you, not a lot better than you, but slightly better than you, will help you the most. And then trying to analyze where you went wrong. So practice and then some sort of self-reflection, which is a lot easier these days because you have engines to kind of guide you in that process. Would you rather play a Simul against 40 vicious-sized Kasparov or against 50 Gary-sized Fishers? Yeah, well played, Nizahe. I think you always choose the one that says 40 because there's less walking involved. Like I'm absolutely hopeless in either one, but by choosing the one that has 40 players, I preserve preserve some ability to stand after I'm done. Um, any Greek chess players that stand out in your opinion? Not at the moment, Wrath of Gods, but I don't really know the junior scene there all that much. In my time, I've played against some very good Greek players, but I don't really know who like the promising youngsters are right now. Portugal or Spain? Which country is the best? Yeah, let's get me into some hot water. I've only been to Portugal once. I really enjoyed it, but I've had very limited experience. Basically, entirely limited to one trip to Portugal with my entire family as a vacation. Um, it was very nice, but I mean, Spain is a fantastic country as well. Who is a better piano player, you or your son? There's not much competition there, Kizar Marrakeshi. Arthur Schopenhauer asked, "Do you like 960? And if you do, and do you think it requires a partially different set of skills from classical chess? And if yes, isn't this set of skills what make classical chess interesting in the first place?" I mean, it's a bit of a leading question, right? But I don't think you're wrong. I think there is a lot of validity to what you're saying. I just don't think that I suspect you also imply by asking that classical chess is completely redundant. This part I don't agree with, but yeah, I mean, Fisher Random, by completely stripping it of theory and only really letting you rely on your natural instincts and your aptitude for play, is sort of the pure chess. But I just don't think it kind of invalidates playing classical, because there is still a lot of room for maneuver. In particular, like you have to understand that our talking points come from watching the absolute top tournaments and like world championship matches. And if you watch, world number one make 12 draws in a row against world number two, it's very easy to, get drawn into the spiral of, A, the format has to be changed, and B, classical chess is dead because nobody can beat anybody else. And, some absolute sweeping reforms are required. But if you like, the example of, let's say, Vaikanzea shows that even if, let's say, you get, I don't know, 7 of the top 10 players, and you add 7 players from the second tier, so to speak, like players in the like 10, I don't know, 10th to 30 in the world range, um, you get tournaments where you find all kinds of openings being played every day. The decisive result percentage goes up dramatically, and nobody really complains about classical anymore. So I think the problem is vastly overstated. Um, Question by Lucas. Any thoughts on why there are so many young prodigies nowadays getting early GM titles? Do you think the methodology has improved so much to a standard where there's a clear path towards the mastery? I think people just have a lot more access to a lot more information from a very early age. I don't really want to, completely assume the mantle of a grumpy old man and start saying, norms were much harder in my day. Look at all these whippersnappers. They would never have been GMs when I was, 18. I don't know if that's true. Probably isn't true, honestly. But it's just that mm, there's clearly a much easier path to becoming good right now because of just, an explosion of resources which help you get good. And I think that's just like the biggest, by far the biggest explanation for that would simply be that the game is just so much more accessible with all the training available online, all the coaching available online, and so on. Do you still play Hearthstone? I even stream Hearthstone, student from Oman. So yeah, the answer is yes. What part of the game do you think Alireza needs to improve the most? By Kizar Marrakeshi. It's hard to say. He is a very well-rounded player. Well, considering he's only 17, I wouldn't want to. I've had a curious conversation earlier today very early in the morning, I got contacted by an old friend of mine who is now quite a serious coach, asking me if I were interested in doing some coaching with a player. He's sort of, I don't know if he's in charge of his training, but like he has some kind of a working relationship with that player. And then this conversation devolved into the conversation. I thought, okay, I am now talking to this guy, so I can ask him questions. He was probably not expecting me to ask him questions, but he can't really run away very easily, so let's ask him. And I thought I will ask him, how do you even begin coaching? Because I've never really uh, done any coaching at all. And we spoke about that a little bit. But like, what the reason I went on this slight derail is that I can watch Alireza, I can be impressed by his play, I can sort of pinpoint where he's strong, I think, and but as someone who has never really tried finding weaker points to improve and so on, I just think my opinion is more or less completely invalid. I think I'm sort of uniquely unqualified to answer those questions. Who would you choose as second if you could choose any player past or present? That's a very good question, Rich Fried. I think, like the first answer, and probably I shouldn't really go further than just give you the first answer that came to mind. One of my greatest regrets is that I have never actually spoken to Mikhail Tal, and it's kind of blasphemous to suggest Tal should be seconding me and not the other way around. But to have an opportunity to look at chess with him would have been an absolute dream come true. Uh, why do you think Duda played very bad last two tournaments, Norway Chess and Skilling? Any advice to him? Sort of no idea and no advice. Once again, I really don't feel like I'm qualified to start giving advice to people who are, arguably better players than me right now. So I think it's temporary. I don't think I expect from your username that you are. I mean, apologies if I'm wrong, but that username looks Polish to me, and I suspect you are a supporter of young Krzysztof. And in that case, I just want to tell you, don't worry. This is not some kind of a new normal. I'm pretty sure young Krzysztof will be back. He is a very very strong player. I think has very good temperament. He will have good results again, and just patience. Give him time. It's not that he got found out or anything. It's just he had a couple of really unfortunate tournaments. Uh, how often do you trim your beard? About once every 10 days or so. I found a very nice barbershop nearby. And it's nice to, pay a small amount of money to get pampered once in a while. Any contemporary Russian novelists that you like? I saw that question earlier. There's such a stream of questions everywhere that I kind of missed on it. I really like. Let me actually Google his name in a second. The guy who wrote, I think his name is Salnikov, right? The guy who wrote Petrovy v Gripi вокруг него. If you speak Russian, if you don't speak Russian, you're in trouble because I don't know how well these things are translated. One sec. Let me just check this. Yeah, his name is Salnikov. At least that would be very, very shameful if I were to recommend something to you and then got the name wrong. That was probably the best book in Russian I've read in quite some time. Have you heard the impersonation Levi Rosman does of you? No, but I'm pretty sure it's good. He is good with impersonations. Yeah, feeding hungry daughters obviously takes precedence over whatever this is. Jackie the Alien, you're welcome, and thanks for the kind words. Returning to the game after a long time, my competitive openings are quite theoretical, Najdorf and Grunfeld. Do you think those openings should be avoided at non-title levels in the computer age? That's a decent question, Sharknado MMA. But if you could, like, let's get back to it when you tell me what your like uh, approximate rating is, because I think that that very much defines what the answer is. I have played Ulf, not a lot. I think I played 1 or 2 games against Ulf. I'm pretty sure all of them were drawn, as as Ulf's games in general tended to be in the later stages of his career. But he is an absolutely fabulous player. But I think by the time I started playing Ulf, he basically liked analyzing the games after the games a lot more than actually playing the games. So if you wanted to draw against Ulf, you pretty much could offer a draw to Ulf, unless you misplayed the opening so horribly that even he would say no. And then you could analyze with him for hours and hours afterwards, which was kind of enjoyable if you wanted to do that. Yeah, A-Class doesn't really tell me very much, Sharknado. Am I skipping? What's the largest animal you could knock out with 1 punch? I didn't see it, Dodgy. Do you think I actually would have skipped that question? Largest animal you could knock out with 1 punch. I have been working out, but the things I've been doing, I think are not very conducive to, becoming a 1 punch man, because I've been working on sort of like core strength and strength in general, as opposed to, speed. And I think for 1 punch knockouts, speed counts more than strength. So also animals are strong. This is a problem, because like simply size wise, you would think maybe a small dog, but the issue is that they are like surprisingly strong. So yeah, I'm still gonna go with like a small to medium sized dog, if it doesn't expect me trying to knock it out with 1 punch. If it's expecting the punch, I'm just never landing a punch, which is a problem. I've never seen anyone time themselves out. Perpetual stalemate. That's nicely done. No, better, well, definitely larger than the Chihuahua. Who would you place in the top 3 of all time and what order? I really feel like this has been answered conclusively by the video series Jan and Peter Heine has done. I mean, seriously, it is the top 3 they settled on, and I probably would put them in the order they put them in, with the proviso that Magnus isn't finished yet, obviously. So in 2030 the order might be different. Are you better in opening, middle, or end games? Pretty sure I'm by far the best at middle games. My end game play has improved, reach read, but not to the degree that I would consider myself a particularly good end game player. I'm not bad at openings, but I think I'm like genuinely decent at middle game play if I get a normal position out of the opening. I think this is where I'm not very far behind really, really good players, if behind at all. What are currently top Russian players in this meta, online chess, etc.? I think Yan Nepomniachtchi clearly is like top 1 right now, because he does all of the things really, really well. And then, like, if we take online blitz and so on, like, you have to start thinking that maybe Artemiev should be rated higher than he is, let's say, in the FIDE classical list. It should be some sort of a list including Andreikin, Karyakin, Dubov certainly on a good day. Who are we missing? Did I say Andreikin? Artemiev. Artemiev above Andreikin, of course. Although Andreikin is also very, very strong. But I think Jan is quite clearly, with Kramnik's retirement, Jan is now like a defined Russian number 1. Grishuk is still like my absolute peak when he's on his A game, but I think Jan has been a lot more stable recently. Have you ever had to call the arbiter on an opponent, or if so, what's the most interesting instance? That's a decent question, just a box on occasion. There was also a question in the Chess24 chat earlier, which I no longer can find on the screen, but I remember it, about the most unsportsmanlike behavior I have ever seen over the chessboard. I actually tried thinking about that and couldn't really remember anything that I could quote straight away. I mean, there were some like weird cases, but um, I mean, there are some legends about people playing Rook H4 takes A5 and so on. But there's a very very famous game played in a traditional like Christmassy Leningrad, even not even St. Petersburg. That was before the city was renamed again. There was a tournament which attracted very very strong fields, held annually in Leningrad, in which a very very famous personality, while also being filmed, according to legend, at some point played like Rook A4 takes H5 or Rook H4 takes A5, and proceeded to win the game, and kind of waved away all protests because go go away, you stupid people. I do what I want to. But I wasn't there. I can't really attest to that being the case. I don't think I've actually ever called arbiter on anybody. I don't particularly like interacting with arbiters, and interacting with arbiters in that direction in particular is not something that I would do. I could tell you some stories about arbiters interacting with me, though. I think like it began when during I think it was the Dresden Olympiad 2008, they were given like sweeping powers to enforce zero tolerance rules and so on. And I think that was the first tournament where arbiters felt that they are now the ones wielding the power. And I think I told this story on the stream once, but regardless, we were playing a very important match, and by we I mean the Russian team. We were playing a very important match against the Ukrainians. I was playing Sergei Karyakin, who was playing for Ukraine at that point. And after the first time control, and also the boards for that particular Olympiad, apart from the boards like on the very top stage, and we were not doing so well, so we were playing in the main hall. The boards were placed kind of strangely, so you had like boards 1 and 2 next to each other, and boards 3 and 4 in the next row, so you couldn't see them at all from where you were sitting. And we got out of the first time trouble, and I had to figure out if I had to continue playing for a win or if I could take a draw, because my position was sort of slightly better with black, but nothing really sensational. So I got up from the board when it was my move, and standing literally like 30 seconds away from my board and quite clearly not talking to anybody and not making any hand gestures or anything, I turned around to look at what's happening on boards 3 and 4. And an arbiter kind of came up running, came up to me and told me, "Sit down." And I kind of turned around to him and I like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, why? First of all, why are you talking to me? And secondly, like I've been playing professional chess for a while by that point. I know I'm not breaking any rules." And he sort of continued half shouting at me to sit down. And yeah, I still remember that, because that, like, definitely, let's say 4 years ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, that interaction would have been completely impossible, because arbiters weren't really, in the habit of harassing players for, imaginary missteps. But it wasn't a German arbiter, by the way. It should have knocked him out with 1 point. That is the proper response. Yeah, it wasn't the German arbiter. It was this being an Olympiad, there were arbiters from everywhere in the world, and that particular arbiter wasn't from Germany. But yeah, I think most of us will have stories about arbiters in the last 10 years, which aren't necessarily very complimentary. Who inspired you to play chess? My dad. I don't know if that's like a good answer. I didn't really need a particular inspiration. I was shown the game when I was like 6.5, I think, and my parents just couldn't drag me away from the board, so it kind of happened by itself. And I'm still kind of addicted to the game, sort of 40 years later. So I didn't really need a kind of a singular inspiration. I just fell in love with the game, and I'm still in love with the game. You have been in chess your whole life. Have you thought about ever writing a book? I'm like once a year or so, people do ask me if I want to write a book, but I never really figured out a good time to do it because I also have a stock answer to this question, and it's a stock answer because I feel like it's true. Is that writing a bad chess book is probably not that difficult, but I don't really see much point. And writing a good chess book is actually exceedingly difficult, and I don't know if I have it in me. So I don't really feel much temptation to try because I don't know where to start even. Do you agree that your haircut is top 5 among super GMs? Probably not. No, definitely not right now. It needs a trim, but it's become better than it used to be. Like I used to look, sort of haircut wise, I used to look exactly the same for like 15 years or 20 years between the ages of, I don't know, 20 and 40, and that wasn't a very flattering look. But it's improved, and I appreciate what I assume was a compliment, but still not top 5 material. Why Richard Rapport not invited to these ongoing events? You'd have to ask the organizers. I don't know. I'm guessing like the easy answer is there are just too many strong players and too few spots. So even some extremely attractive, young, promising, exciting players miss out because there's just not enough slots. Have you ever read a poker book? Obviously, no. Like, I mean, why you even ask? We all know the answer to that one. What are we missing? Do you dream in English or Russian? It's a split, but if I had to guess, probably leaning towards more English than more Russian. What is your favorite non-chess book? Very, very hard to pick one. Like, even if you give me like 10 slots there, I will struggle. Because book 3 has recently been released, the Wolf Hall series of book by Hilary Mantel are the ones that kind of come to mind the easiest for me, but I don't know if that's like a proper answer, but it definitely would be very high on my list of, let's say, I don't know, top 15, top 20 books I ever read. Telephone Book of St. Petersburg, yeah. I don't know if we ever had one at home. I used to not have a problem. It's like it's weird because before mobile phones became ubiquitous, you had to we all had those phone books where you would write phone numbers for friends and new acquaintances and so on. And I never really had any issue remembering them. And there's also a famous quote by Kasparov, who I think when he was much younger, he said, at least the legend says that he said something to the extent of, the moment I will need a phone book to remind myself of a phone number of a single person, I will quit chess. I don't know if it's still true, but it definitely I never had memory as good as Kasparov's, obviously, but I never had issues remembering phone numbers either. But now you just, somebody calls you, you click add contact, you click new contact, and you type in the name. And the number never even registers with you. Like, it's just a number. You don't even try to memorize it. And it feels like a bit of a lost art. It's something that used to be kind of half important because you could forget your phone book and then how would you get in touch with people? But now it's just, I don't think anybody does that anymore. What was your favorite subject in school? Hard to say. I kind of like literature, but I did not have a particular rapport with our literature teacher. I was okay. I mean, like I finished. There is the system of they called medals in Soviet schools, and you get a gold medal if you finish as a straight A student. I did not get a gold medal because I skipped physical culture for the past like 4 years of school because I was away all the time and also lazy, and also I had heart surgery when I was 16, so they couldn't really touch me anymore. uh, that was very, very useful because, it was open heart surgery, but I was home in a week and it never really bothered me again. But it gave me an absolute cast iron way not to attend any kind of PE. Uh, and I also missed, I mean, I was obviously missing a lot of lessons by then. So I think I got 1B somewhere apart from PE. So I got like a silver medal, but I was a reasonably successful pupil. So I mean, I definitely enjoyed parts of physics, and like I remember I actually really enjoyed mechanics when we kind of progressed past mechanics into electricity and things. That was less enjoyable, but um, yeah, school wasn't really a very traumatic experience for me. Um, if somebody was preparing a movie about you and you were asked to choose an actor to play you, yeah, I don't know. I remember somebody suggested that John Turturro in The Illusion Defense looked like younger me, and I thought that's very flattering. But I don't know if that would have been my choice. It's just something that comes to mind because somebody else thought of it. I've never spent a second of my life considering that question. I've been answering questions from that chat, Akusari. So yeah, I think the answer is a tentative yes. What are your remaining chess ambitions? Um, that's a hard hitting question. I don't know. Um, Continuing to enjoy the game, I think, is the biggest ambition I have right now. Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Samuel L. Jackson playing me for sure. That would be. I just don't think he is particularly interested, but that would be nice. Um, Let me see what I missed in the meantime. Uh, that's a that's a very loaded question from Wait What in the Chess24 chat. I don't know if that generalization is necessarily true, but if it is, I think chess players just by nature are incredibly individualistic and uh, don't really like it's a in particular professional chess players, they live in a very narrow world, which it makes it, I think, very, very easy to get immersed in chess to the exclusion of everything else. Yeah, you keep on asking about the Russian publisher of chess books. I have no idea. Ronaldo Mura. I would have answered if I had an answer for you. Um, what do you see when playing blindfold chess? I think it's basically a full board with in 2D. It's like a mixture of 2D and 3D. Like I tried. I've had that question asked before because I've recently actually been doing. I've been trying to do blindfold simuls on my Twitch, and it made it easier for me to try and figure out what's happening in my head when I'm doing that. But I still don't really know. It's like difficult to stop thinking about positions and try to kind of freeze that image in your brain and try to figure out if it's 2D or 3D. But it is a full board. It's not just bits. Do you think that Russian chess literature is better than English? Do you mean like specifically English or English language? Neil Deal 101. Um, mm, Hang on. If you were not a chess player, what profession you would probably be into? When I was a kid, and that was actually connected with a very very specific thing. When I was about maybe 16, 17 ish, I just randomly got introduced to the world of Terry Pratchett, and I fell like madly in love with it. And at the time, in the mid 90s, there were basically no translations of it available in Russian. I already didn't really need translations. I mean, my English has improved since, but it was definitely decent enough to be reading Pratchett in original even then. Um, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to actually translate the entire Pratchett canon into Russian well? Not just translate it, but translate it well, preserving, all the quirkiness and all the wordplay and all the spirit of the originals. And I remember I even started on that. I chose one book and I decided to try and translate like the first couple of chapters. It's hell. It's just so difficult. And I was definitely not equipped to do that then. I'm better equipped now, but I suspect I would still make an absolute meal out of it. But yeah, like something to do with translation of fiction would have been something I'd be extremely interested in. Um, what do you think about my system? People are trying to, get me to fire shots. Uh, my system is fine. It's a historic book of chess, which is probably not as relevant as it was when it was published, but it's still fine. I don't think it will harm you. You also should not be taking it as gospel, um, and it's very well written, so you can just read it as a fiction book. So yeah, I'm not a huge enemy of my system, but I also, as opposed to I think a lot of people who are the product of the Soviet chess upbringing, I don't swear by it. I don't immediately recommend it to everybody, but I don't think it will harm you either. Um, what do you think about India getting trashed by Australia in the ODI series? I was actually planning to watch some cricket while doing this. It's a good thing I didn't try doing that because I'm barely keeping up with the chats as is. I think playing Australia in Australia is always going to be very challenging. And I'm not really up to date on like the squad compositions. I would, 15 years ago, I would have a very strong opinion on who India should be picking in their 11. I no longer really have any clue, apart from like the core players I would be able to name. But just generally, playing Australia on those pitches, I think is going to be challenging for any visiting team. And the Australian pace attack right now is just very, very good. So, uh, I mean, I understand you're probably disappointed, but it's a result that is not entirely unexpected. Mm. What would you recommend to seniors, average club player level, trying to improve? Should they focus on something in particular or learn a little bit of everything? Well, Penguin, um, depends on sort of how much you prioritize winning. Um, because I think like if you actually if your priority is becoming as successful as possible, I think tightening up on tactics will do the most. Just eliminating blunders, also becoming a lot better at spotting blunders by your opponents will increase your EV the most over the short run. But I don't know if that answers your question particularly. Yeah, I'm aware India has done okay against Australia in recent years, but I was asked a specific question, Idoko, and I'm not firing shot at India. India is a tremendously strong team. This is also not a novelty. I'm pretty sure that even by sort of asking me this, you have already worked out why it doesn't exactly equalize us to November. I am not going to do what I did the previous time and actually stop the stream, so to speak, to check it on a decent-ish engine. But if this was good, people would be playing. Like you do have to apply a kind of an Occam's razor to this. This is a position in a reasonably mainstream opening It's a position by move 5, in which what you're proposing is black actually fighting for the center with very, very straightforward means, which, is logical. So you have to assume that, people have looked at it before. And for some reason, it's not very popular and is not really being played. So I think it's reasonably safe just to tell yourself it's maybe not unplayable, but there's probably a reason why people aren't doing this. Anyway, how top GMs consider microcomputer from year 1995 when they were worth 2400 to year 2005 when they reached 2800. We have anecdotes where GMs talk to each other about microcomputer. I don't know what you mean by microcomputers, but I mean, there was like I distinctly remember, the transition from you analyze with a machine because why wouldn't you? And it occasionally tells you things which are useful to the situation where basically you analyze with the machine because not doing it would just be completely idiotic because you would do the same job only worse and 10 times slower. But I don't remember any particular stories about it. Microcomputers like for cheating. No, I don't think that's what the person asking the question implied. Romulus in Remo. How do you find novelties and how do top players do opening work? I think it varies from person to person. You just you either just decide to pick up something new, or in my case, I think very often my issue would be that there's a kind of a hole in what I'm doing. Like I've been playing a line for a while, and then somebody spots a way to create new problems in that line, and I have to do some patching up to do because otherwise people will continue hitting me there. And then you start from some kind of an early position which you think is logical, which you think you will get to reliably, and you start looking at alternatives to what your previous way of thinking was. It's both are fine win-win. Do you go to random chess clubs and beat the snot out of everyone there? I think I've done that. There was one story, not exactly like that, but in New York in 1994, I believe, I went there to play the New York Open, maybe 95, and also for sort of personal reasons. And the personal reasons eventually got me to a place, I think in Greenwich Village, where there were it was a chess club plus shop, and the reason we got there is sort of irrelevant. But once I did get there, there was this very nice elderly lady at the front who was greeting us, and she was introduced to me, and I was expecting it to be like a low key conversation, and she was told I'm a Russian grandmaster. And at that point, she looked at me, looked at the hall where people were sitting playing Blitz, and she bellowed at the top of her lungs, "There's a Russian grandmaster here who wants to play Blitz against him." And that was not what I expected. And then I also did not expect anybody to take her up on it because, I mean, she did announce I was a Russian grandmaster, so I did not really expect very many takers. But I did find one taker, and you were supposed to pay like a table charge. You paid like, I don't know, $3 an hour to rent a table. And that, I mean, logically implies that you have to play for money because somebody is going to be paying for the table. So a guy played me no odds. I think we were playing 5 minute, maybe 3 minute, probably 3 minute because we played 8 games and 5 minute 8 games would take forever. We played like $5 a game. I won 6-2, paid the table charge, and I bought myself a t-shirt for that money. Like my approach in those years, and probably would still be right now, is that money that you didn't expect, because this money really was like I found it on the ground. It wasn't really any kind of money I was expecting that day. You are supposed to you are supposed to try and spend it on something frivolous immediately. You're not supposed to like try to hoard it. So I bought myself. I even remember what that T-shirt was. It was "Shit happens in every world religion," like how people in every major world religion would would state the statement of "shit happens." And I had it for a while, and then I lost it somewhere. It was very sad. I've probably missed a number of questions. Hang on a second. What would you consider your biggest tournament win? I still rate the World Cup I won in 2011 as my biggest ever chess achievement. No, I didn't do a home tour, and I don't think I will do a home tour. I don't really. It's not really something I'm comfortable with or interested in doing. How were you raised as a chess player? My parents gave me, every chance to become better. They bought me books. Once I became good enough to actually have good coaching, they found me coaches and so on. But I don't know exactly how to answer that question. How intimidating is it to sit down against Magnus? Not that intimidating for me, because I started playing him when he was much younger, and I've had a good score against him for a while. And even now, it's still an equal score, even though that's basically because I don't play against him anymore. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, he does. I'm sure he does intimidate some people. But for me personally, I just really like playing against him because I think you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to be very excited about playing the best of the best. What do you think about the missed opportunities at Skilling tournament? It's a very tiring schedule to a laser. I don't know if everything can be explained by the fact that playing 5 games a day for 3 days and then playing those extremely grueling sets of 4 games against extremely high opposition, you do get very tired towards the end of it. But I mean, that's definitely part of it, but I don't know if there's some more reason. Online chess is difficult. Favorite chess coach? I know who like the most important chess coach in my career was. His name is Andrei Lukin, and I owe him a great deal of gratitude. But in terms of overall, like, I haven't really worked with very many apart from him. I've never really done any structured work face to face with Dvoretsky, for instance. I've never worked with Chuchilov, so it's hard for me to judge. What's the main gap between me and the world champions like Magnus or Anand? I think natural talent. I'm a reasonably talented chess player. I'm kind of at peace with this by this point, but there's still a gap in natural abilities, I'm sure, and also like work ethic, and also I'm pretty sure in terms of just raw naked ambition. I think it's not going to be specific chess skills outside of just stating that they are very, very talented, more talented than I am. It's to do with the approach to the game and the psychology more than the purely chess reasons. Why GM need coach or people to study with? Isn't Stockfish the best study partner? I mean, ideally, I think, like, at least for me, I know that the best work I do is when I can, Stockfish will be switched on, but if there's somebody sitting next to me you can bounce ideas off of, that's a lot more productive in my case. So I think like if you can find the combination of the two, that's the best. But obviously, you are like Stockfish is always there. It's the question of whether you can add something to the Stockfish. I'm not sure how long this is. Like, I can definitely go go longer, but there should be some sort of a timeline on this. So if people in charge of the scheduling could maybe drop a message in chat or somewhere telling me how far we're supposed to go with this, I would. Okay. Yeah, I think I think I will maybe take. Let me find one lighthearted question to deal with. Uh, uh, if the questions stop early, does Watch Sound start early? It might. I have to talk to she who must be obeyed about that. And but there is another show coming, so I probably should wrap this up pronto. Saravanan asking, you have a self-deprecating humor as well as the way of talking. Does this is this not a hindrance to self-confidence? I think it might be, but I don't know how to change that, and I don't know if I want to change that. So I'm kind of at peace with how I am as a human being. Anyway, thanks very much for keeping me company and asking the questions. I'm sure I did not answer a great number of them, but uh, have you ever become Legend of Hearthstone? I think I tried doing that, like properly try harded for a season, maybe 4 or 5 times, and I got there every time apart from one. But I generally just don't try. I don't play much ladder. Uh, Kunst. Uh, yeah, we have to free the airwaves for the next show. So thanks very much for being here. Thanks for asking me those questions. Welcome to Marshall D2224, and yeah, we will step away and allow the next program to go on air. Cheers, everybody.